What's up everybody, Johnnie Omega here, giving you my top 10 movies of 2018. Admittedly, I didn't see every movie that came out, but out of the ones I did see, these are my favorite. And as we're going down the list, I'm not going to give a full review of each movie, just a quick overview as to why I liked it. Starting us off with number 10, we have mid-90s. This movie kind of hits me on a personal level because I was around these kids' age at the time that this movie takes place. I didn't have the same set of friends, but I do have first-hand knowledge on the world that this movie sets up. And it's crazy for me to think that the 90s is now a place and time where movies can be considered a period piece. I guess this is how my parents felt in the 90s when movies would come out that took place in the 70s. But to this movie's credit, not only did it capture the time well, but it was just an overall good movie. And what's even more impressive is that this is Jonah Hill's directorial debut. Whatever his next project is, I hope it's as good as this. Next on the list at number 9, we have Bad Times at the El Royale. If I made a list of the most surprising movies of 2018, this would definitely be at the top. When I watched the first trailer, I honestly didn't even like it. I didn't really understand what the movie was about, and it just didn't seem interesting to me. But I had Movie Pass at the time, and I had some time to kill one day, so I figured, why not? Easily one of the best ensemble casts of the year. I'm a big fan of non-linear storytelling when it's done right, and this movie definitely delivered. Not a lot of people actually saw this movie in theaters, so I definitely would suggest giving it a look if you haven't already. Next on the list at number 8, we have A Quiet Place. Unlike Bad Times at the El Royale, this trailer had me hooked from the first moment I saw it. Just the concept of living in a world where making noise could possibly get you killed is just a crazy thing to think about. Not only was the concept original, but the execution of it was done very well. It's not hard to create tension in a scene that gets the audience quiet, but to do that through almost the entirety of the movie is something I don't think I've ever seen before. It was one of the quietest movie-going experiences I ever had. It's like nobody wanted to be the one to ruin the movie by talking, and that's actually an experience I would love to have more often. A movie where the actors don't have to do a lot of talking can either show how good of an actor that person is, or it can hide the deficiencies of that actor. Personally, I think it's the former, because John Krasinski and Emily Blunt both carried this movie very impressively. If you haven't seen this movie yet, then you gotta get on it. Next on the list at number 7, we have Bumblebee. I had to think about this movie long and hard because I couldn't tell if this movie was actually as good as I thought it was or if it just had that new movie shine to it. But after careful consideration, not only did it make the list, but it also beat out 3 other movies on it. I think just about everybody that sees this movie falls into one or two categories. Either you think this is the best Transformers movie or you think the first one is. I personally think the first one is better, but I can definitely understand how someone could think Bumblebee is. This movie managed to be simplistic and great all at the same time. I could definitely see how someone could fall off the Transformers bandwagon after the last 4 movies that we had, but if you haven't seen Bumblebee yet, I definitely would suggest doing so. This movie definitely gives me hope for this Transformers franchise moving forward, especially if Michael Bay is far away from the director's chair. Next on the list at number 6, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was a big roll of the dice for Sony to have an animated Spider-Man movie, and an even bigger roll of the dice to have Miles Morales as the lead. Both risks paid off as far as I'm concerned, because this is definitely the best animated movie of the year. From the story, to the voice acting, to the animation style, this movie just hit on every level. Watching this movie was like watching a comic book come to life. And I like the fact that Sony went with Miles Morales because it'll probably be a very long time, if ever, that we see Miles Morales in live action. What I think this movie proves more than anything is that in the right director's hands, Sony can still produce a great Spider-Man movie. I'm sure it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to have sequels and spin-offs in the animated universe, and I'm definitely excited to see what they do next. Next on the list at number 5, we have BlacKkKlansman. Spike Lee's been doing this a long time, and if you thought he didn't have it anymore, this movie definitely proves he still has something left in the tank. On paper, the premise alone of a black cop infiltrating the KKK just seemed interesting. And then when you find out it's based on a true story, it just makes it even more interesting. This movie could have gone either way, because when you have a veteran director with a rookie actor, you never quite know what you're going to get. But one thing that Spike Lee did is he surrounded John David Washington with a lot of good acting talent. It's like if you have a quarterback coming out of college and you think he can lead your team in the future, but you don't want to put too much on him during his rookie year, you surround him with as much talent as you can to put him in the best situation possible. But besides the acting, the whole movie is just a great combination of action, comedy, drama, suspense. Spike Lee put all that together and made a movie that I'm sure is going to get some Oscar buzz. Next on the list at number 4, we have Black Panther. When I was making this list, Black Panther was one of the last movies I wrote down because I actually forgot this movie came came out in 2018. Usually movies that come out in the first quarter are nowhere near my favorites of the year, but this movie actually cracked my top 5. I was expecting greatness from this movie, and I can honestly say it delivered. Not only was this movie full of great performances, but it also gave us the best villain that the MCU has ever seen with Killmonger. Unfortunately, that reign as the best villain only lasted about 2 months. But it was a powerful 2 months though. And there's actually a legitimate argument that he still is. Loki was only going to do so much in a Thor movie, and Thanos was placed on a pedestal as the end-all be-all ever since the first Avengers movie. But unlike those two villains, the performance of Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger actually stole the movie. He came across better on screen than I think he ever intended to be on paper. But I'm the type of guy that loves a good antagonist, so it's no surprise that this movie is high on my list. Next on the list of number 3, we have Creed 2. When it comes to overall franchises, there aren't many I'd put above Rocky, and this movie is actually one of the best in the entire franchise. Not only that, but I also think that Creed 1 and Creed 2 definitely need to be added to the conversation when people discuss if the sequel is better than the original. Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. Godfather, Godfather 2. Back to the Future Part 2. Rocky 2. And now we have Creed and Creed 2. This movie is basically a revenge story, but it's a lot more than that because from a narrative aspect, all the main characters experience growth throughout the movie. It doesn't just rest on what Creed 1 did, it actually expands everything and progresses everybody's story. I've actually heard some people say that this should end the Rocky franchise, but I totally disagree. With a franchise like this, you don't end it with the movie without knowing this is the last movie. You don't treat it like a TV show that ends without having a series finale. Personally, I think they should make one more, wrap up Creed with a trilogy, and then put a nice end to the whole franchise. Next on the list of number 2, we have Avengers Infinity War. Now, this was actually my most anticipated movie of the year, and I'm actually surprised that it didn't end up at number 1 on this list. 10 years and 18 movies all leading to this one specific film, and I'm so glad that it didn't disappoint. As good as this movie was though, the only thing that would have made it better is if we didn't live in a world where we know what movies are coming next. I definitely feel like the ending would have had more weight if we didn't already know that Avengers Endgame was coming, and we didn't already know that Spider-Man Far From Home was a couple of months after that. But with no end in sight, it definitely seems like with the MCU it's more about the journey than it is the destination, and I'm just glad to be a part of the ride. Before I reveal number 1 though, I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of movies that didn't quite make the list. These aren't in any particular order, these are just movies that I think all of y'all should see if y'all haven't already. We have Deadpool 2, White Boy Rick, Venom, Overlord, Widows, and Aquaman. And finally, at number 1, we have Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, this is a movie that I did want to see, but to be honest with you guys, if I had made a list of my most anticipated movies of 2018, this would have made the list of top 10, but it would have been near the bottom. For most of the year, Infinity War was my favorite movie, but I can honestly say that as soon as I walked out of Bohemian Rhapsody, I knew I had a new number 1. When it comes to Oscars, not only do I feel like Bohemian Rhapsody is the best movie of the year, but I also feel like Rami Malek gave the best performance of the year. Yo, somebody tell the people at Fox to go ahead and clear up a space next to the other Academy Awards, because they about to win another one for Best Picture. Everything about this movie was great from beginning to end, and you don't even have to be a fan of Queen to like it. Out of all the movies I reviewed for 2018, this movie had the highest rating, but I honestly feel like I was conservative with that rating. Rethinking it, this isn't a movie that you add to the Blu-ray collection. This is definitely an Omega level movie. So that's my list of the top 10 movies of 2018. Comment below and let me know what your favorite movies were. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to see what we got coming next.